Hello and welcome back to Keto Homestead with Jess. How's everybody doing? We got Arc Wildman Survival here in the house. And let's see who's in the chat. Down on Boddington Farm commented pretty early. She says, be sleeping, but we'll definitely be watching this one. I've bought the dry powder. Works amazing for my pain. I always say this name wrong, so please forgive me. I hope I say it right today. Zane, hello and welcome. Brian Lloyd, good to see you. Shawnee is here. Stars Prepper, hello. And Miscellaneous, how are you all doing? We got 8 people here. So as you've seen in the thumbnail, we're talking about wild lettuce today. Art, can you see the chat?
Yeah, I can see it. Hello, Stars Prepper.
I just wanted to make sure.
I can't chat on it, but I can see it.
Yeah. Monty and Bella just popped in. The best life. Hello. So I have basically just learned about wild lettuce in the past month. I've been doing a lot of research, watching videos like Arc Wildman, Mike Reed. She is of the woods. There's thousands of videos out there that have just been popping up on my suggested list that I've been watching on how to process it, how to forage for it. And I walked out of the house one day and I just had huge amounts of wild lettuce all over the place. So I asked Arc Wildman to be here today because he's pretty knowledgeable and he can help us all learn. I'll go ahead and show the variety that I have growing, and this is blue wild lettuce, and this is what grows in Ohio, but there's several different varieties. So I'm going to go ahead and give the floor to Arc, and he can tell us some more information.
This is the one she has. It's Lactuca benis. It's the blue wild lettuce. As you can see, you can just barely prick that, and it'll start bleeding the white latex, which is the medicine. And this one is the opium wild lettuce, Lactucas virosa. And as you can see there, I guess you can see pretty good there. I can pull a stem and it'll start bleeding good. But that's the one they call the opium wild lettuce. It's a little bit withered. It's a little bit hot here in Arkansas, but that's where it's going to flower. But both can be used the same way.
And how many varieties are there of wild lettuce?
I believe there's over 50 worldwide. There's a lot. I think there's 7 leaf varieties of this one here, the opium, different leaf varieties.
So with them there being that many out there, all of them have the same type of properties to them?
Yeah, even South Thistle has some of the same properties, except I think it'll kind of mess your stomach up if you take too much of the South Thistle.
Okay.
But even dandelion has the white sap in there, like the carrium, I believe it's called. But even the dandelion leaves has it.
Yeah. Now today I'm by the thumbnail, you guys sure I'm gonna do a tincture. My screen just blacked. I don't know if that happened to you guys or not, but I'm gonna do a tincture over. I am going to do I'm gonna powder it up. I'm gonna put it in the dehydrator, and then once it's done, I will powder it up. Hey Gemma, thanks for coming in. Arc Wildman, how do you use your wild lettuce?
I just use it fresh, right off the plant. It has it's good for pain, but it's also used as a sedative. It's good for sedative properties. Find me some here that's I can get let me get my knife out here. but it's real good as a sedative. And I just take the milky sap and use it fresh like that. Oh,
Did I go out on you, Ark?
no, I just muted it there for a little bit.
I just
One of the kids had the dog barking.
my internet stopped, so I wondered if I cut off the screen.
No, you did earlier when we was backstage for a little bit.
Oh, that's weird.
Mine's weak. I'm surprised I got signal.
So I'm just rough cutting this lettuce. Now, most people know wild lettuce as a pain relief, but when I was doing some research, there's quite a bit of other benefits to wild lettuce. Do you know any of those benefits? Like anything other than pain?
As has a sedative effect, I know, but and a lot of people would rub it on joints for joint pain.
Yeah, like a salve.
Yeah.
I was reading the other day about how it has, probably because of the sedative in it, but it was saying that it had properties to calm anxiety and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that, when it comes to plants and things like that, that always intrigues me because obviously I always have anxiety. So anything that helps with pain or anxiety, I'm on board. There was like quite a few other things though that they were talking about in there that people have used in the past for the wild lettuce. Just trying to remember, I can't remember what it was now. I'm gonna have to go back and look in my description. Maybe if my mouse will scroll up. Glaucoma. Somebody was saying about using it for glaucoma and how it works. And I thought that was pretty cool.
I know that since the 1800s, doctors back then, they would use it as, for pain and sedative.
Yeah. Well, I personally have never used it, so I'm kind of excited. So for a first-time user, what would you suggest? Dosage-wise?
It does have a good, in a tincture form, probably 5 or 6 drops according to, how you're feeling.
Yeah. Now, if you were to eat it raw like you do you eat like a whole leaf, or do you just, what do you do?
I just take the sap like you seen, and I just take a little bit of the sap, the fresh sap, and take it like that. Now, the leaves can be ate, but you have to boil them a couple times and change water. It's a bitter lettuce.
Okay. Now, I was wondering that too because I seen somebody was they were actually putting it in their salad and just eating it as a green in their salad. I was like, oh,
I guess you could, but
and I was wondering if it would be better because all the.
I've only. It has a bitter taste.
I wonder if it would be good for your guts then too, because they say that most bitters, if you eat something that's bitter, that's usually good for your gut as well.
Yeah. I was reading in a book they was researching like on HIV and stuff like that, and they was using a mixture of herbs they call Swedish bitters.
Uh-huh.
And that was pretty interesting. A few years ago, I used it to treat cancer and a lot of things. But I can't remember all the plants that was in there, but there's bitter plant.
My local alcohol shop is going to start thinking I'm an alcoholic. All this vodka I keep going through here lately.
I went and made one load the last me the year. You know, I made the toothache tree tincture, and that way I could have something if I have a toothache this winter and the leaves are gone. I don't have to mess with the bark because those are pretty rare around here.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was a pretty interesting video. I've never seen the toothache tree before.
That's the first one I'd come across, and I've been in the woods a lot.
Oh wow. Let's see what the chat's saying real quick. Moonphase 5 came in. Hello. Welcome. Van Life with Gina. Hello and welcome. Mark, over at Rolling Homestead. Good to see you. I think I caught everybody up. Oh, Northwoods Peachtree. Hello. Sorry I missed you. Big Joe's Outdoors. So, like I said, with the rest of this, I'm going to go ahead and put in the dehydrator, and I'm going to also go ahead and use the stems as well. And I'm going to make sure this is on 95 degrees so it's not too hot. I'll just do single layers. So is it pretty? Oh, what happened to Ark? There you are. I turned around and you were gone. So is it pretty hot there?
One of our internet's having trouble.
I know.
It's not bad here in the shade.
I was outside a lot yesterday, and I think I got way too much sun yesterday because today I felt droggy and just ugh. I don't know. These leaves are pretty thin, so I wouldn't imagine this would take more than like a couple of hours to dry out.
Yeah, it wouldn't take long to dry out, especially in the heat or in the dehydrator, either one.
Yeah. Well, I harvested a bunch of it. I think it was last week I harvested it. And I hung it in a shed. I hung it all in a shed. And I think I harvest too much because it's still all, it's not dried out yet. It still has moisture in it. So before this live, I ran outside and grabbed some more so I could do this. Figure I'd just work with some
I have it growing out here. I have it growing out here pretty thick in the yard with a lot of different plants.
Yeah, I was really surprised that I have it. Like I was telling Art before, we've never had it before in the yard, and this year it's just been everywhere. I wonder if that's like Mother Nature. Like I've noticed that with a lot of plants. Like one year it'll be there and one year it won't, or it'll skip a couple of years and it'll come back. So I wonder if that's like Mother Nature trying to tell us something. I don't know.
Maybe. I think one of them is a biannual. I ain't for sure which one it is. And one of them's an annual.
Oh, okay. I need more trays for my dehydrator. I went through 3 trays real quick. So do you have a apothecary cabinet, Art?
Yeah, I have bone set, tinctured, and I have some chanterelle mushrooms dehydrated that you can use as kind of like a Gatorade substitute. You can grind it up and put it in water, and it's high in potassium. The chanterelle mushrooms are, and a lot of trace minerals, and you can grind it up and make just like a Gatorade substitute. Put it in your drink.
That's good to know. And
then I have, yeah, it is. Then I have see, I got bone set, and I got and for mostly for pain and a sedative, I have the ghost pipe tincture that I make, and then I have yarrow tincture, and then I have some old man's beard tincture for colds and flu.
Okay. I don't know if we have old man's beard around here.
Usnea is a good medicine.
So I got the tincture made. Super simple. Just shove some leaves in a jar and top it off with some vodka. This is 80 proof vodka, what I'm using. They suggest doing 100 proof, but if you can't get 100 proof, 80 proof is fine, 90 proof.
That's what I use. The 80 proof. So
yeah, Art said for beginners, 5 to 6 drops of tincture is what he would suggest starting out with.
And you can just put it in your favorite drink, your tea, your coffee, or make it taste better.
Moon was asking what you were eating, Art.
Oh, I was eating some of that wild lettuce.
Everybody's saying they love the sound of your rooster. Reminds them of their childhood. Steve is getting jealous. Go ahead.
I got 4 kids in the house. It's a little noisy in there, but it's noisy around the farm everywhere you go.
Steve Essex, he's in Chicago.
The tincture will last forever in the alcohol.
Yeah. Steve's in Chicago, and he's trying to get back to Alabama. So every time he watches all of our, homesteading videos, it makes him jealous.
You don't eat very much of it fresh, Moon Phase. You usually boil it, and then after 2 boilings, you can eat wild lettuce.
Hey, Thornhaven, thanks for coming in. Yeah, Stars Prepper, that's what I'm finding. Ark, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but everything I've read up on tinctures, it's usually 6 to 8 weeks on everything.
Yeah.
Moonface says, I didn't know we could eat it. Howie from Food Forest Permaculture just hopped in. Hello, how are you doing? Thanks for coming in.
Hi, Howie.
So yeah, if anybody else has any questions for Art, go ahead, throw them in the chat. Any questions for me, go ahead and ask. It's hot here today in Ohio. I don't know what the temp is, Art, but I'm just sweating.
It's 90-something here. I'll be jumping in the river later and catching bait for the trot line and cooling off.
That's what I always do. I either put my feet in the duck pond or go sit in the creek. I don't know what it is. My feet are like my thermometers. If my feet are cold, the rest of my body is hot. But did I say that wrong? If my feet are hot, the rest of my body's hot. If my feet are cold, then I'm freezing. So as long as I can regulate my feet, I'm good. Klingon Princess just hopped in. Hello.
Hi, Cleon.
Go ahead. You can ask the question. Bella's saying 6 to 8 weeks, shake 2 times a day, and keep out of the sun, away from heat. Yes. I usually just keep mine in the cabinet next to the sink that I open up every day. So that way when I open it, I can just grab all my tinctures and start shaking.
I keep mine in the closet usually.
When I first started making, what was the first thing I made? It was the wild black raspberry brandy was the first tincture I made. And I put it in the closet, and that's what I was planning on doing with all my tinctures, is just putting them in the closet and shaking them. Well, I never would go into that closet, so I'd forget it was there, and I'm like, man, I keep forgetting. So I had to come up with a better system.
With the brandy, you just have to shake it the first few days, I think. I got some blackberry brandy and used to dissolve the sugar.
Yeah. Did you ever hear my story about that?
I don't think I did.
So the first time I made this was years ago, like 10, 11 years. No, about 10 years ago is when I made it. And I was looking for tinctures, and I came across the brandy recipe, and I'm like, well, I'll just make a tincture brandy, whatever. So I got all my berries. I, put the sugar and the vodka in it, and I did the whole process. And then when my 6 to 8 weeks were over, or whatever it was, I think it was a month on that one or something. I think it was over a month. But anyways, it came time to strain it, and the video I was watching said you're supposed to throw all the berries away. And I'm like, I ain't throwing those berries away. What a waste, So it's like 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm out here straining berries, and I'm just eating the berries. Like, I'm not throwing these away. I was so lit. Barrett come walking in the kitchen. He was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, hey, babe, what's up? And he's like, oh, my goodness. He was like, what are you doing? I was like, here, try a berry. He's like, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Get away from me. And I'm like, come on, try it. It's so good. And he's like, no. And he's like, you're not allowed to eat the strained berries anymore. But I didn't want to waste them. That was the last time I ate strained berries.
You could feed them to the pigs, and you could have drunk pigs out there.
Moonface 5 says, laugh out loud, just parties alone for breakfast. I wasn't trying to. I wasn't thinking, I guess. I was just more worried about throwing good berries away. I wasn't thinking about the alcohol I was consuming.
Yeah. But yeah, Mike, he makes the pill the capsules and everything, out of wild lettuce. But all I've ever used it, Rage in the Cage wanted to know how to make it and stuff, and not Rage in the Cage, Rip Curl Readiness.
Oh, okay.
Was wanting to know how to preserve it, and I referred him to Mike Reed because I'd never preserved any.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoy watching Mike Reed and you, and there's several others that I watch, and I really enjoy watching you because it's like you get different information on the same plant from each person, and you might not process it the same way Mike does, and Mike might not process it the same way somebody else does. So I like to be able to use those comparisons between all of you.
Well, you get more information that way,
Mm-hmm. And I learn better like that. I'm a very visual person. So like watching it over and over again, like, obviously identifying the plant is basically the same thing. So if you're identifying it, Mike's identifying it, everybody else is identifying it. It's just getting ingrained in my brain of what it looks like and what characteristics I need to look for when I'm out there.
Yeah, there's so many of the wild lettuce species, it can get kind of confusing. But most of them will have like the hairy, on the stems. They'll have like little fine hairs along the stem line there, and that'll separate it from your south thistle and stuff like that.
Does it grow all year?
And it'll die in the wintertime, especially in cooler climates. Now in Florida or somewhere it might, I don't know.
Moonface says, yes, I need to hear a thing several times and then put it all together, and then it goes into my memory bank. Yep.
And the older you get, the more forgetful you get too.
Brian Lloyd's asking, does it grow in hot weather?
Oh yeah. It gets up in the hundreds here in Arkansas. So
all right, Steve, thank you for coming in. Have a good day. I hope you feel better. So there was something I was going to ask you. Now I can't remember. That's going to taunt me later on because I'm going to remember and be like, oh. That's the Alzheimer's I'm getting, I guess. Oh, Stars Prepper. That's a good one.
we get sometimes, or sometimes we forget.
Stars Prepper's asking.
You can grow the seeds.
Can you grow it?
You can order.
You can grow it in the house with a grow light?
I'm sure you can. You can order the seeds offline. I'm sure you could.
So they probably, since they don't last in the wintertime, they probably are just like anything else and go to seed, in the fall, right? So if I wanted to go out there and collect the seed from them, I could.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Later on, they'll have like little dandelion puffs,
Now, since they're all different varieties,
balls.
Yeah. Since they're all different varieties,
dandelions get,
Yeah. Will they all be the same color flower, or will they all be different since they're different varieties?
I think the Verosa stays true, but the others will cross. Is the way I get it.
Oh, okay.
You got your prickly lettuce, then your blue lettuce. I think those two can cross.
Okay. Klingon Princess asks, will you please hold the leaf up again, Ark?
This one is the blue, and this one is the opium with a sharp point right there.
Klingon Princess says she's been trying to identify a plant along my walk and believe it's lettuce.
Does it bleed when she plucks a leaf or scratches it? Or
She says the hairs on the underside point down.
If it's got hairs on the underside, it's most likely wild lettuce, because they'll have fine little hairs. You can't really, well, my eyes, I can't really see them that good.
Yeah, mine are pretty fine too on the blue. I was actually second guessing myself when I harvested it, because on some of the videos I seen, and it was because it was a different variety of wild lettuce, but theirs were more, you could see them a lot better, and they seemed like they were sharper. And the ones on the blue wild lettuce were real fine, but they're still there. You can see them. But so yeah, as long as they're there. Brian wants to know how long I'm drying it. And the incubator, and the dehydrator, I'm gonna go for like an hour at a time, and I'll check it. But I wouldn't say any more than 2 hours in a dehydrator. Now, I did harvest a bunch. There's probably 6 plants I harvested and hung together, which I probably shouldn't have done. But I tied them together and hung them in the shed, and they've been in there for about a week, and they're not completely dried out yet. So I guess it just depends on what technique you use. Klingon is saying, thank you, Ark.
Did it pop off again?
Yeah, for a second. Stars Pepper says, if you don't have a dehydrator, do you dry it in the sun or in a warm, dry place? Don't dry it in the sun. If you dry any of your herbs in the sun, that depletes it from any medical properties. So I would do it in like a shed or a barn or a garage or something like that, that the elements aren't going to get to it. Klingon Princess says she's going to break a piece off and see if it bleeds. You're welcome, Brian. Sheena's Keto, hello and welcome. Ark, are you still there? Oh, there you are. I see movement now. Sheena's Keto is asking, can you also cook it down like syrup?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. I've never done it yet. I don't think. Ark said he hasn't done it. He eats his fresh, so you haven't done it, right?
No. I've seen it done in a crock pot, a video on it, and put it in capsules, but
yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it would take quite a while for it to boil down until it gets into that black tar.
yeah, I figure it would.
And you would have to have quite a bit of it too.
You'd probably want to use an old crock pot too.
Yeah. I've seen it cooked down on low heat and taken like an elderberry syrup. Yeah. I was thinking about that too, because I was watching somebody double boil it like that. And then I was wondering, like, if they double boil it like that, I mean, they are only getting like a tiny bit. But if you could, I wonder what the potency would be on that if you did that way. And then, you know, like on the dehydrator, they have like the jelly trays you can put it on. If you smeared that on the jelly tray and dehydrated that and powdered it down into a powder, I wonder how that would probably be like super, super potent, huh?
Probably.
It'd be kind of scary, I guess, if you did it that way. That would be a lot to take in one capsule.
Yeah. Brian Lloyd, the tincture will last forever. The alcohol, you know, preserves it, but I don't know about the capsules and, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah. I think it kind of worries me once you start like dehydrating it and breaking it down and putting it in capsules and gummies and things like that, because you don't really know how much exactly you're taking. And the more you break it down, the more potent it's going to be. Cindy, hello and welcome. She says, I posted a video this morning on my search for wild lettuce. Could only find sow thistle up here in northern Canada. Sow thistle leaves but doesn't have the opium.
It has some of the lactocarium, but it's too much of it will give you stomachache, diarrhea. But it does have lactocarium in it, the sow thistle.
That's funny. Sheena's Keto says, it can't be no worse than the crap pain management gives me. Yeah, I just had a phone call this morning for pain management they're setting me up with, and I'm like, oh, Lord, here we go. Because I know the minute I walk in there, they're going to want to poke and prod me, and it's going to be a fight because I'm going to be like, no, you ain't touching me. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. They get like, the reason I laugh about it is because they get super angry at me. Like the medical professionals, they get super angry because they just want to throw prescriptions at me left and right, and they want to do this and that. And I'm like, no. And they're like, well, why not? And so I go on this big tantrum of why I'm not doing this and why I'm not doing this. And I'm giving them history of herbal medicines and things like that. And they're just like,
They tried putting me on cholesterol, and my cholesterol's fine levels. I mean, what?
yeah.
Just to sell another pill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I worked in the field for 20 years. I know what they do, and I'm pretty educated about my own body and listen to my own body. And there's nobody out there in the world that can convince me to do something that I don't believe in or I don't think is right for me. Yeah, Sheena says that crap will kill you I'd rather do wild lettuce, right? Brian Lloyd, I'm not sure. He wants to know how many capsules can you take at a time. I would suggest getting hold of somebody local in your area, like a naturopathic or something like that. You know, somebody that's educated. Because
Master herbalist somewhere.
yeah, master herbalist, something like that. We're all just self-taught here. We're just learning on our own. Please don't, I didn't even say that in the beginning, Art. Please don't take any of our stuff to heart. Like, we're just learning ourselves, and always consult your doctor first, yada, yada, yada. Do your own research. Make sure you know what you're doing. And for the pills, we don't know. We don't, I've never taken them. Art's never taken them or made them, so I would rather use myself as a guinea pig. Sorry, traffic. I'd rather use myself as a guinea pig on wild natural herbs than I would on pharmaceuticals that are synthetic.
The wild opium poppy is an opioid, so it's a little stronger than the wild lettuce. Moon phase. But what they would do would
Go ahead, sorry.
What they would do would cut the bulb of the opium poppy and get the white stuff like you would the wild lettuce. That's how it got its name as opium lettuce, because they'd slice it and the lactocarium would come out.
Now, Art, can you explain something? Because the Best Life says in the chat, what do you want to do? Be addicted to opiates like the rest of the country?
It don't have the opiates, like it's just called opium lettuce because it bleeds like the opium poppy, but it's very mild, and it's not addictive.
Moonphase is asking, Arc Wildman, I have wild poppies. Can they be utilized the same way as wild lettuce?
That's what I was answering her question a while
Oh,
ago.
okay. Sorry. It went over my head. So you can use them?
Well, that is opium, the opium poppy,
Yeah, so that's straight opium if you
Yeah,
process it, right? Okay.
that one
Yeah,
is addictive.
yeah. I always wondered that though, because they have the California poppies all over the place. So I'm wondering if I thought for some reason I read somewhere that they read that out of the California poppy somehow, like the opiates somehow. I don't know. And that you couldn't actually process it and get those opioids anymore. I don't know if that's true or not, but I
Well,
remember.
it's kind of has like an opioid effect, and it would be like a mild opioid, but not addictive.
Yeah. Cooking on the Farm just jumped in. Hello. Oh, okay. Sorry, Best Life. I misunderstood you.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff is addictive that they can get you hooked on, the doctors.
Moonface says, I don't think I want to do that then, do I? Nope. Not the poppies.
Well, if you was in severe pain and there's emergency, you could.
Yeah. Thank you, James. James just popped in.
But yeah, if you're trying it for the first time, just try it in little bits. Make sure you don't have no allergic reactions or anything like that.
Now, would you suggest when somebody tries a new herb or medicine like that, a tincture, would they do the same process? Check it on their arm, their lip, and then try?
That way they know they don't have allergic reaction, because some people's allergic to different stuff.
Yeah. Now I have a question. I always ask everybody, and I still haven't really got that. I haven't got an answer, I guess, that I was satisfied with. So, say somebody new took an herb or a tincture, and they were allergic to it, and they didn't know, but they took a dose of it. In that case, what would you do? You just wait it out, or what would you do if you had an allergic reaction?
I would take 2 tablespoons of activated charcoal. That way it would collect all in that charcoal in your gut and get it out of your system.
Okay, that's the first one I've heard that answer from. Awesome, thank you. I'll have to go buy some charcoal.
But yeah, that activated charcoal, it's like a magnet, and it'll even take your medicines that you take. It'll clean your system. It'll draw all that in there and make it less effective.
Okay. See, Moonphase, you can just get some activated charcoal and you don't have anything to be scared of.
I've actually made some and took it because I thought I took the wrong plant one time, but it wasn't the wrong plant.
It doesn't that suck, when you second guess yourself, you know, and then something happens where somebody will say something or you read something else and you're like, oh, wait a minute. And you just second guess yourself and for a fact, what it was, but for some reason you get that little bit of doubt in your head.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But that absorbs all the toxins, that activated charcoal.
Sheena's Keto says Benadryl and wait unless the throat is swelling, then hospital. But that's the thing, Sheena. The reason I ask is if, say, there was a scenario where there wasn't a hospital or there was no medical professionals that you could go to. In that case, if your throat is swelling or whatever, you're having an adverse reaction, then what do you do when you don't have somebody there to help you? That's kind of what I was getting at. Best Life wants to know what makes charcoal activated charcoal.
Well, you take your hardwood is the best to make your activated charcoal, and you just put it in a tin and charcoal it, and then you squash it up in a mortar where it's real granular size, and that's what activates it, is my understanding.
I mean, faces. I'm getting the activated charcoal, or can I make it?
You can buy it online. It's not that expensive, or most pharmacies have it. But that time I made my own because I wasn't for sure.
You're full of all the knowledge this morning, Ark. Learning all kinds of new stuff.
But yeah, even if you're eating something and you think you get food poison out in a while, undercooked bear meat or something like that, and you get sick at your stomach, you can take some of that activated charcoal, and that could save your life.
So that would be a good thing to have in your preps. Now, how much of that would you take? You wouldn't take very much, would you?
About a tablespoon.
Okay. Let's see. Sheena's saying that Walmart sells it in their pharmacy.
I wouldn't recommend it, but in an emergency situation, those little heat packs, that's what they have in them, is activated charcoal, the little hand warmers and stuff.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that. Cindy's saying don't try anything unless you have Benadryl on hand and keep it handy for the second try too. Sometimes the second time is when you have a reverse reaction or worse reaction.
I've never had a bad reaction to any plant. I'm lucky. I just thought I'd mistaken that one, but I wouldn't. I didn't mistake it. It's just panic, I guess.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. Like, I've never had an allergic reaction, knock on wood, to anything ever. And I do see a naturopathic, and he does a routine like allergy test on me, like different herbs and plants and all kinds of stuff. And so I've never came up with any type of allergic reaction to anything. But it's still in the back of your head when you're trying to learn something new, and there's possibilities out there that something could hurt you if you're not wise and you're not educated about it. Yeah. So, like Art just said, it's just a part of a little bit of a panic or anxiety back there.
My son, I can eat honey mushrooms. He can't eat honey mushrooms. They're edible, but not everybody can eat them. So, just so something's edible don't mean that everyone can tolerate it.
Right. That's funny too, because I know, like I said, I've never been allergic to anything, and every once in a while I'll get on a bend. Well, I'll eat some shrimp or something, and you always hear about these really bad reverse reactions that people have to shellfish. Mm-hmm. I know that I don't have a shellfish issue, but every once in a while when I'm eating shrimp, I'm like, oh crap, what if I'm allergic to it? Like, I just ate all that shrimp. What if something happens? And it's just the way my brain works, I guess. But I know it's not.
I have a friend that's allergic to iodine, and he can't eat shrimp,
Yeah. Yeah, I know quite a few people allergic to iodine that's in the shrimp. Hey, Lexi Ann, and I always wonder, you have prongs there, don't you? Do you have prongs? The fresh water?
I think I think they're in ponds. Some places raise them, but
Yeah.
I've never seen any.
See, and we have a prong farmer here. It's about a town away. And when I went and visited that place, I wanted local, fresh, like shrimp, you know. Well, obviously, you can't get that in Ohio. Well, in my research, when I was looking for something, I found this guy that was a town away that had fresh prawns, and he raised them on his farm in these ponds. And when I went there for a tour and to purchase some, he said that people that have iodine allergies to shrimp can actually eat the prawns because it's different. And I said, that's interesting. I would have never thought of that. So I just love conversing and talking to different people, especially like our firemen. I'm always learning something new. And just different topics come up, and we're just always learning. Awesome.
Yeah, I study different plants every day, and I can walk out here and find a different plant, you know, that I'd miss.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because like you'll put out a video about, you know, a wild edible or herb or something like that. And then a couple days later, I'll just be walking along in the garden or something, and I'll spot something out of my eye, and it's like, oh, Ark was just talking about that the other day. What the heck? And then, of course, I'll have to take a picture of it and come inside and make sure it's exactly what you said. Or, you know.
Well, it's good to research any of them, you know, because, you know, we're human. We can all make mistakes.
Yeah. Ooh,
But yeah, I love foraging. It's something that our ancestors did a lot, you know.
Yeah, I'm learning to love it the more and more I'm out there, because it's like every time I walk outside, like I said, there's something new. There's always something new. I'm like, what the heck? Where'd that come from? I'm just reading the chat, seeing if there's any questions.
You'll see it. My son, he's allergic to penicillin, and I'm not. My mother was, but I'm not.
Well, that's what started me, like, really on this whole wild edibles and herbs journey. Is I worked, you know, in the nursing home for 20 years taking care of people, and I contracted a resident scratched me and spit on my arm. And I contracted a staph infection, a really bad one. It went clear up my arm, down my hand. It just kept spreading. And so obviously I was being treated by doctors and everything, but every single antibiotic they put me on, my body was having different reactions to. My body was not handling any of the antibiotics good. And so they would take me off of one and put me on another one. That wouldn't work. And I probably went through 5 or 6 different antibiotics. And I'm like, what the heck? This is horrible. You know, I was worried that my body was going to go septic, is what I was worried about. And so I started doing a lot of research on natural remedies, and I come across an article about Manuka honey and the properties of Manuka honey and how good it was for skin infections. And I was like, all right, I can't be worse than trying all these antibiotics, you know. So I went out and now Manuka honey has a K factor on it, and the higher K factor, the stronger the medicinal properties are in it. So I went out and got the highest amount of K factor that I could afford at that time. I came home and just slathered my whole arm and hand in it and wrapped it up so it wouldn't get, you know, honey all over the place. And I did that for 2 days, and it was completely gone. And I'm like, you've got to be, I was like blown away. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, it can't be that freaking easy to heal yourself, you know? And I was like, after that moment, I was convinced. Never again. I was like, I'm never stepping back into pharmaceuticals or over the counters. Forget that.
My son had a friend had a spider bite when he come spend the night with him, and we went swimming up in the mountains, and he was complaining about it. And I went and picked him some spider wort, and he rubbed it on there, and he said instantly, he said, "Man, that helps."
That's awesome. And that's good too, because he's young. So hopefully, you know, that will intrigue him for later in life. He'll want to be out there foraging and learning. And I think it's a lost art. Not very many people are doing it.
That's right. And a lot of them just ain't interested in it.
Mm-hmm. So hopefully
and it's
that,
one of the best
you know, yeah, and hopefully that memory will stick with him forever. Oh, wow, we got more people popping in ARC. We got Breton Farm Homestead, Boots and Bounties just popped in. Lady Hammer. So if there's no more questions, or ARC, if there's anything else you want to add, you can go ahead. Otherwise, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. We've been on for about an hour. I think it's time for me to go hop in the creek.
I enjoyed it.
Well, thank you so much.
I'll be hopping in the river pretty soon.
Yeah. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Thank you, Sheena. Yeah, thanks for coming on, ARC. It's always a good time. I always enjoy having you on the panel. Anytime you want to hop up, you're more than welcome. Always enjoy. Go ahead.
You have a good day, and I'll see you later.
All right, you too. Have fun in the river. All right, everybody. I want to thank you for coming out and watching me and ARC Wildman today here on Wild Lettuce. If you don't know ARC Wildman and you're not subscribed to him, shame on you. You need to go over to that man's channel and go subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your family. Go hit him up. He is amazing, full of all kinds of knowledge. Anything you basically need to know, he's got a load of information. Let him know that Keto Homestead would just sent you over there. Go show him some love. And I hope you all stay happy, healthy, and safe. I'm going to go pull down in the creek, and I'll see you guys next time. I hope to see you on Thursday for my Dehydration Thursday. We are doing dehydrated bananas by request from The Best Life. So I hope to see you over there, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.